What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jimmy, aka The Truth, and welcome to another episode of Run DMZ, where we talk about cybersecurity and pen testing. In today's episode, we're going to talk about how do you get into cybersecurity? I get asked this question a lot, and in fact, in our last video that I posted, I received a lot of DMs about this topic. So today I decided to post this video, take a step back a little bit from the pen testing TTPs, and give more of an introductory video on cybersecurity as a whole and what you need to do to get started in the field. Before I start, I want to talk about my story and how I ended up in the field. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and pivot into the fundamentals and the roadmap that you'd want to follow to get started yourself. So without further ado, let's get started. Right, so here's my story. Back in 2016, I started off as an intern in IT. I worked my way up through help desk, tier 2 escalation support, and up to a junior systems administrator, essentially the whole ladder. I did that across a bunch of MSPs, managed service providers, and if you don't know what MSPs are, look it up. They're basically IT companies that provide IT support to other companies, kind of like shadow IT services that they provide to Fortune 500 and 300 companies, etc. And so when I worked for these MSPs, I got exposed to a ton of different environments, domains, and technologies relatively quickly. And at the same time, I was also in the Marine Corps Reserves. My time in service was important because that kind of plays into how I ended up in cybersecurity today. Back then, I was a field radio operator. You know, the guys with the radio and antennas on their back running around. Anyways, around 2020, 2021 timeframe, I got the opportunity to do what's called a lateral move into cybersecurity. And that basically means I was able to change careers in the military, going from a radio operator to a cybersecurity operator, if that makes sense. Anyways, when I did that, I went through some intense technical training over an X amount of time, came back and landed a job in cyber. Fast forward to today, and I'm a SOC analyst / incident responder, excuse me, with a pen testing background. So I came into cyber with a solid foundation in IT, which really complemented my transition into cyber. And understand that IT is the bigger umbrella, and cybersecurity falls underneath that umbrella and has its own umbrella, if you will. IT focuses a lot on operations, services, and availability, whereas cyber focuses on security, compliance, and other cyber-related operations. It's its own field, essentially, but it does fall under the hierarchy of IT. And yeah, that's my story. Let you know a little bit about me. Let's get into the real reason why you're here. You want to get into cybersecurity. Whatever brought you here, welcome. You made the right call. I want to preface this by saying cybersecurity is a very broad field and no easy feat. If you think you're going to land your first cyber job in a month with little to no IT experience, then you're wrong. This video isn't for you. Those are unrealistic expectations, and I don't want to mislead anyone here. Nonetheless, how do you start? When you say you want to start in cybersecurity, most people mess this up right out the gate. People Google search how to start in cybersecurity and immediately feel overwhelmed. There are 1,000 certifications, plenty of YouTube videos, and thousands of people telling you different things. And honestly, that's because they're all right for different reasons. Cybersecurity is not one job or one set skill. It's its own industry with dozens of specializations inside of it. And I say that because if you don't know which direction you're headed, you're going to waste a lot of time, money, and energy chasing the wrong things. I like to use this analogy to break it down. Think about doctors for a sec. Doctors have different practices in health. Yes? We can all agree on that? Right. So when you say you want to be a doctor, what direction are you going to take? Are you going to be a dentist, a heart surgeon, an optometrist, pediatrician? They're all doctors in their own right. But the training and the day-to-day work and the skills required are completely different. Cybersecurity works the exact same way. And so before I give you any roadmap, before I tell you what certs to chase or degrees or courses to take, you need to step back and ask yourself this: what type of work do you want to do? Let's get right into it. Right, so back to the roadmaps. We're going to be talking about three specific roadmaps here in a moment. First, we're going to talk about this cybersecurity certifications roadmap by Paul Jeremy. I think it's called Paul Jeremy's cybersecurity roadmap. And then we're going to move into a roadmap that we created here in Run DMZ that focuses on security operations and risk management. And then finally, we're going to cover a third roadmap briefly, and that's basically the DoD 8570 roadmap. A little bit about that, DoD 8570, formerly DoD 8140, is a roadmap that, sorry, I got gremlins in the back. Those are my kids. It's summer break, so they're hanging out. Don't mind them, they're good kids. But yeah, back to the 8570. So DoD 8570, formerly 8140, is a roadmap that is tied to the U.S. government, and basically what that covers is how to work cyber in the U.S. government. Basically, it breaks down the different cybersecurity jobs and roles that you can work for in the government, and then it has the specific certifications that you need to acquire. That's a whole video in and of itself. I'm just gonna kind of talk about that briefly in this video, and then if you guys want, I can create another video for that piece as well. Right. So first up is Paul Jeremy. Here's the chart right here. And don't worry, I'm going to be dropping a link to this chart in the description in the video. So what is this? Paul Jeremy's cybersecurity certs roadmap is an interactive chart that maps cybersecurity certifications to the specializations we discussed about earlier. The specializations in this map covers multiple domains across the industry, and we're going to cover those domains here in a second. I do want to point out this chart is completely free, and it kind of became the go-to reference for anyone trying to figure out what certs to get in cyber. And it is a living and breathing document, so it gets updated every now and then. I believe right here you can see that it was last updated July of 2024 and currently has 481 certifications. But don't worry, it still brings a ton of value, and it's a really good resource to have. So how do you read this chart? You want to read this chart from left to right and top to bottom, first off. Over here on the top, you'll notice that there are all these columns, right? And basically what these columns are, they are specializations or domains, same thing. And underneath these domains are the certs that tie into them, right? Some of these domains, like this one right here, have subdomains with the specific certs that you need to acquire for said domain. And you'll notice here at the bottom, it kind of breaks it down, the certifications by difficulty. So all these certs over here at the bottom are considered a beginner/entry-level certifications, and then right here towards the middle are intermediate certifications. That's all of these across the board, and then finally at the top you have your expert level certs at the top right here. So you can read it from top to bottom. I kind of like reading it from bottom to top. I go from beginner, intermediate, expert. That's how I read it. And then for the roadmap that we created here at Run DMZ, it really is a roadmap that speaks to this domain, cyber security operations. And under security operations, you'll see that it kind of breaks it down into two pieces, blue team, right? And then red. And here you're going to have your pen testing, red teaming jobs, your incident response jobs, your SOC analyst, forensics. There's also in our roadmap, we talk a little bit about GRC jobs. That's kind of like ISSM, ISSO type jobs. That has a lot more to do with policies and whatnot. More than if you ask me, but whatever. And so that kind of falls under its own domain, if you will. Keep in mind, there's so many jobs out there in cyber, and this kind of like plays into my point that I discussed earlier. You need to know what kind of job you want to work in before searching for certs, if that makes sense. So this is the reason why there's just so many domains under cybersecurity, and you need to figure out what domain you want to pursue, if that makes sense. But definitely use this map. It's helped a lot of people, and it's very interactive. If you hover over here, over at the top of these domains, it kind of gives you a quick blurb of what those domains are. So if we hover over the communications and network security domain, you can see here a little description that it's giving. Communication network security domains covers the ability to secure communication channels and networks, blah, 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 blah. Basically how to become a network engineer. You're probably dealing with next-gen firewalls and, all kinds of VRFs, BGPs, all that type of jazz. What's also pretty neat about this chart is all these are the individual certifications, right? And if you hover over them, it gives you the full name of the certifications and the actual cost. So it kind of helps you alleviate all that Google searching on, certifications, the costs and all that. And if you click on it, it takes you to the actual cert. So this is a really valuable tool because it's a one-stop shop. So in that example, I kind of clicked on CASP. Let's see, Security Plus. You go over here to Security Plus, right? $404 for the voucher. You click here, and it automatically navigates you to the CompTIA site. Bam. Go ahead, create your account. You're ready to take the test, knock it out, move on with your life. So I really like this chart for that purpose, and again, use it to your advantage. I'm going to drop the link in the description. So that's basically it for this Paul Jeremy thing. One thing I want to point out before you start searching for certs or whatnot, no matter which one of these domains or specializations you want to pursue, there's a universal starting point, and that starts here with CompTIA's Sec Plus. I got it popped up over here for your guys' reference. Is this a baseline certification? Bottom line, before pursuing any certs, you need to get your Sec Plus. It's your foundational cert, and you absolutely need this in your resume if you want to take this field seriously. You want to get past HR, you need to have Sec Plus. If you want to work for the government, especially in the U.S. government, any kind of cybersecurity jobs, you need Sec Plus. So it's a very broad certification. It basically covers all the principles of cybersecurity, talks a lot about networking, threats, vulnerabilities, cryptography, identity management, SecOps, and it's globally recognized. To me it's a beginner certification, but again, it's your baseline. You need to have this cert to get a job in cyber. That's just it. So you want to start off, go for Sec Plus. I'm not going to focus anymore on that. So moving on, we're going to go now to the cybersecurity roadmap that we created over here at Run DMZ. This was actually created by my boy Eric. Shout out to his community, No Code Mafia. He's the one that actually developed this roadmap. So kudos to him. We collaborate on a lot of stuff. Which, by the way, if anybody's interested in how to create this type of content, his and I'm gonna drop his community page in the description as well. But he talks a lot about AI and how to leverage his AI tools to create content and do some cool cybersecurity stuff from an AI perspective. So definitely give him a look when you have a chance. But yeah, here's our roadmap here at Run DMZ. It's somewhat interactive. If you click on these links over here at the top, it'll automatically take you to the domain that we highlighted in this roadmap. And underneath the domain, we'll have the different certifications categorized by like entry level, mid, and expert. And those again are the certs that you'd want to acquire to get said job. So we're going to go over these each, starting off with offensive and red teaming. And you'll notice again, sorry to kind of cut you off, but you'll notice here that all of them have this Security Plus that I was talking about. That's the foundational cert, right? So no matter what domain or job you're looking for, cybersecurity, or I'm sorry, Sec Plus is always going to be there. That is your foundational cert. So again, get your Sec Plus first. Moving on, back to pen testing. So, what is pen testing? What do they do? Companies literally pay you to break into their systems before the bad guys do, right? Your job is to think like an attacker, find gaps and weaknesses in the network, and exploit those weaknesses and report back any findings to the company that hired you to fix those discrepancies that you and your team discovered. To me, this is one of the most technical and sought after roles in the industry. You're doing a lot of network enumeration, exploit development, cracking passwords, bypassing security controls, Active Directory, the whole 9 yards. And then on top of that, you have to write these very detailed reports that you then provide to C-level execs or whatever company that hired you, to include CISOs and IT directors that make decision making on how to address those findings. Below are the certs that you need. Again, the foundational one is always going to be Sec Plus. And then some of your entry level certs to land a job in pen testing and / red teaming are right here. You got another CompTIA pen test, EJPT, certified ethical hacker. It's kind of like a mid level. OSCP and CPTS. I will say OSCP is the golden ticket, or the gold standard when it comes to pen testing and red teaming. I personally don't agree with it, but it's the most recognized certification. So not to say that you can't get a job without this. I'm just saying if you happen to get this certification, more likely than not, you're going to land a pen testing job within the coming months. So if you're very serious about pursuing this type of job, definitely get your OSCP. Hack the Box's CPTS, it to me is a lot more technical than the OSCP. And you guys could look into that. I'm not going to talk too much about that, but this is a brand new, relatively new cert that just came out, I think, within the last 5 years. I actually have this certification. I think there's only like a couple thousand, maybe 3,000 uh, certification holders worldwide because it's still kind of new. But to me, it's just a lot more technical than the OSCP. And it really does hold a lot of that value in my opinion. In the coming years, I think this will be the new industry standard. But yeah, I want to kind of talk about red teaming, not to get too confused with pen testing. Pen testing, you're doing a lot of like, black box testing or gray box testing and whatnot, and you're kind of like uh, one-stop shop. You're exploiting all kinds of vulnerabilities and stuff. You using whatever tools you have at your disposal. Red teaming kind of focuses more on like CVEs or like specific exploits, if that makes sense. So like, let's say there's like a CVE out there that speaks to Cisco firewalls, like
Cisco firewall exploitation that is out in the wild. So red teamers, essentially what they'll do is they'll find out everything about this specific CVE, and they'll go ahead and try to exploit networks that they're hired to do, right? You need an NDA, you're not just, hacking whatever you want. They're hired to come into environments, to networks, and try to see if the networks that they're hired to work in are exposed to these specific, CVEs. So if like there's this Cisco firewall exploit that's out and about, company A might hire a red teamer to come and be like, hey, listen, we don't really care about, um, you know, all these other exploits. We want to focus on hardening our network towards this Cisco firewall vulnerability because we may have a whole bunch of firewalls in Cisco firewalls in our environment. So don't get red teaming and pen testing confused. They're kind of interchangeable, very similar. Same certs. If you get these certs, you can go pen testing or red teaming. But some jobs kind of like segregate the roles. So just want to touch on that. And then for my college bubbas out there, university guys, for college, if you want to get a degree, definitely get a BA or master's in cybersecurity, computer science, or just information technology. Those are really the only degrees you need. I would just say if you get a bachelor's or master's in cybersecurity and some of these certs, you're gold. Right, so we're going to move on to the next domain underneath that, and now we fall here into defensive security / blue team domain. And you're going to notice here that there's two separate jobs. You got the blue team / SOC analyst, and then the incident response analyst. To me, they're one and the same, but there are some differences, so I thought it'd be best to kind of separate them for your guys' awareness. But let's talk a little bit about the blue team first. Again, you'll notice here. Foundational cert is Sec Plus, as I mentioned. I keep harping on. So what is a blue team SOC analyst? While the red team is trying to break in, the blue team is essentially ones that are defending the gates or the walls, right? SOC stands for Security Operations Center, and basically in a SOC you have analysts that are monitoring networks 24/7 for threats, suspicious activities, and active attacks from MCAs, malicious cyber actors, that type of stuff. If you like the idea of being a defender, catching bad actors in the act, analyzing logs, responding to alerts, triaging alerts, then this might be your lane. Entry-level SOC analysts are one of the most accessible ways into the field. If you ask me, if you want to get your foot in the door into cybersecurity, I think becoming an analyst is one of the best ways. Here are the certs right here. Another CompTIA CYSA Plus is a good cert to have. Hack the Box's CDSA. This is a relatively new cert. I think this just came out like a couple years ago. The Hack the Box certs, I just for a moment I want to talk about that. They are all hands-on certifications, so they're not like, and not to crap on CompTIA or some of the other certs, but they're not like these written exams where it's just like multiple choice, choose all that apply, these philosophy-based certifications. No, the certs from Hack the Box, they're actually hands-on, and they actually give you the experience that you need to do the job that you'd be hired to do. So this is a mid-level certification. Definitely brings a lot of value to any analysts out there. And then you got your Microsoft, and then your Splunk certification. Splunk is just another SIEM. That's another video for another time, but basically SIEMs are security information environment monitoring systems. Anyways, the SIEM is just the systems that collect logs from a whole bunch of different resources, and it's the bread and butter for SOC analysts and incident response analysts. It generates a whole bunch of alerts, and it's really how cyber analysts are monitoring the network. It enables that monitoring and incident handling, if you will. So Splunk is just one of the globally recognized SIEMs out there. Getting a certification under Splunk is really valuable. Right, so moving on over here to the next job, incident response. This job is one and the same as a blue team SOC analyst. If you ask me, they do the same job. It's just incident response focuses a lot more on recovery and after actions, lessons learned, and all that jazz. But they basically do the same thing if you ask me. Whatever. But so incident response, when a company gets hacked, ransomware is introduced into the network, data gets stolen, systems go down. You get the gist. Companies will go ahead and call their incident responders, and their job basically is to contain the damage, figure out exactly what happened, and kick the attackers out, and help the company recover any lost or stolen data. It's a very fast-paced environment, high pressure, high vis, but it's extremely rewarding. You're basically a detective, and you're triaging a lot of alarms, monitoring networks in real time, and really responding. I mean, it's in the name, right? Response. It's a very reactive job, if you will. So the moment something legitimate hits, you're the first line of defense that's going to go in there, investigate whatever alarms trigger whatever happened, and then try to quarantine any assets and recover any stolen or lost data. It's a very rewarding feel, if you ask me. Here are the certifications that you need. Again, Sec Plus, CYSA, you'll see it's the same. The GIAC are one of the most expensive certs, if you ask me, but they're very hands-on. I heard they're very hands-on, really good certs. If you have these GIAC certs, man, uh, you're gonna get a job. But you got the GIAC certified incident handler, and then the GIAC certified forensics examiner. You do forensics. Some incident responders do forensics, some don't, and that's kind of like the last step of incident response. And forensics is another job that we're going to cover actually in this roadmap. It's its own niche job, if you will. And then lastly, you have the Hack the Box CDSA cert, just like I mentioned. It's a hands-on certification specifically for blue team / SOC analysts. So again, Hack the Box is to me is a very hands-on certification. I love their certs. What's up, man? Hold on. Oh, it's a package. Oh, and actually, so I actually just got a certification from Hack the Box. I'll show you guys up here. I got this one, the CPTS, Certified PenTesting Specialist. And I'll do a little reveal for you guys. I just got the cert in the mail. So let's open it up. I guess I'll do a review for you guys real quick. Let's see what's in the box.
Oh, green stuff?
Yeah. Oh, wow, this is awesome. Hold on. I don't know if they can see it. So I got this in the mail just now. Got my own cert. I don't know if you guys can see it. Got my name. It's pretty cool. It looks like you gave me some swag. Oh, hell yeah.
And you got a shirt.
It's pretty dope.
Yeah, and the shirt is
Okay, Poppy.
the shirt is
I'm telling you, man, I love Hack the Box. Oh, they gave me a shirt too? What? Get out of here. I got some swag from them. Yeah. I promise you I'm not sponsored by them. I know a good cert when I see one or a good company. So shout out to Hack the Box. Thank you, Poppy. I'll take that back. That's actually good timing. I was literally talking about that. All right, my fault. I hope the reveal didn't bother anybody. Back to the video. All right, so we already covered defensive security. We're gonna move on to SIEM engineer, SIEM. So SIEM engineers. Remember I was talking about SOC analysts and incident responders that they're monitoring alerts in real time or monitoring networks in real time. Right here. So the way they're doing that is through a SIEM. And so what a SIEM engineer is they're building and maintaining those systems so that the analysts are starting, are able to monitor the networks essentially. SIEM stands for Security Information and Event Management, and it's a platform that collects logs and data from every corner of your network, correlates it, and fires off alerts when something looks suspicious. Think of a SIEM as like a giant funnel, if you will. Every firewall, every workstation, server, um, endpoint is sending data, and the SIEM engineers make sure all of that gets collected, organized, and turn into meaningful intelligence, if you will. There's a lot of popular SIEMs out there. I've used IBM QRadar, uh, Sentinel, Microsoft Sentinel is a good SIEM. I've used Splunk, and then also Security Onion, part of the Elk stack. So those are some SIEMs that I have used as an analyst, not as an engineer. Don't want to do that, at least not me. But yeah, so SIEM engineers, it's a little bit more of a advanced level engineer heavy role. The engineers aren't just watching alerts, they're actually writing detection rules and tuning out any false positives on their platform, building dashboards for the SOC analysts to use. Yeah, I'm sorry, those are my dogs. They're a little being loud now, but yeah, SIEM engineer is basically configuring the SIEM platform, and that enables SOC operations essentially. Here are the certs that you'd want to acquire to be a SIEM engineer. CYSA, Splunk for power users. In my opinion, I'd say if you want to get like certified in a specific SIEM, like QRadar, Sentinel, or whatnot, get those as well. This is kind of just like a random SIEM that they picked out. Microsoft, GIAC, and actually, I want to also say this. I want to talk about the CISP for a little bit. It's a goal for, at least in the United States, CISSP is like the gold standard. It's like the golden ticket. So if you can get this certification, this is one of like the expert level certs. I'd say just get it for any job, even if it doesn't, if you don't need it for the job that you want to work in. If you can get your hands on the CISSP, just get it, because then you can negotiate a salary and whatnot. So definitely look into the CISP. But these are the certs for SIEM engineers. Again, as far as degrees, just need a cybersecurity degree or a degree in computer science or information technology systems. Nothing crazy. All right, so moving on, we're going down to this DoD government cyber. This one is heavily for my DoD and government focused workers out there. So if you're military or targeting defense contractor work, pay close attention to this. HBSS stands for Host-Based Security System. Hold on one second. Hi, miss. Please?
Say hi.
Okay, say hi, boy. All right, go. I gotta work. Thank you. Sorry about that. HBSS stands for Host-Based Security System. It's DoD's standardized endpoint security suite that gets deployed on every single machine across the DoD. Your job as an HBSS analyst is to deploy, configure, manage, and monitor systems across thousands of endpoints, detect rogues, and deploy agents as need be. Think of it as like your antivirus one-stop shop solution. So if you're an HBSS analyst in the government, you're probably going to be working with things like McAfee Trellix or Carbon Black, Windows Defender, or Microsoft Defender, sorry. Those are some of like the popular HBSS suites that are out there, and they're really focused on antivirus and DLP solution, data loss prevention. The government likes to do this where they kind of like segregate roles in cybersecurity, and so HBSS analyst is really focused on antivirus solution, and they have their own analysts for that. Don't ask me why. And so the other type of job is ACAS, vulnerability scanning, over here to the right. And this is also more of a government related role. ACAS is the DoD's official vulnerability scanning solution, built on Tenable Nessus. And all vulnerability scanner, a vulnerability scanner it's basically it scans the entire network for any vulnerabilities that it can find. It basically has agents that is installed on every endpoint server. And so when you do a scan, those agents report back to your vulnerability system. In this case, Tenable Nessus is one system. Another one is popular one is Greenbone OpenBoss. Not to get confused with pen testing, because pen testing is more of a hands-on approach, whereas vulnerability scanning, it's basically, hey, you have all your agents across the network, go ahead and find these specific CVEs across the network. You could do fast scans, unauthenticated scans, authenticated scans, and basically all that means is scanning with or without credentials, because at some point, you might need to authenticate into a system when you try to scan. And it's basically scanning for ports across the network, open and close ports, and then it really focuses on vulnerable services that might be opened. And then it generates this really cool report. It's good for metrics gathering, and DoD loves metrics, and it also helps with detecting STIGs, things that are unpatched in the environment. STIGs are security technical implementation guidelines, and it's just basically patches that the government needs to follow in order to harden their network. So vulnerability scanning tools like Nessus helps detect if workstation servers are sticked correctly or not, and it generates a report, well, which is nice for decision makers. So here are the certs for that. Again, CAYSA, Tenable, CISP, as I mentioned, from ISC Square, is listed over here. It's the gold standard. Get it. Just get it if you can. I'm not gonna get it. That is more of a management certification, if you ask me, and I kind of like to stick to the hands-on technical type work. But if you ever want to pursue more of a management type of role in cyber, CISP is your go-to certification. Keep in mind with government jobs or cyber government jobs, you do need to have a clearance. You need to be eligible for security clearance. There are different types of security clearances, levels 1 through 5, 5 being the most secret or top secret level clearance out there. And so if you're gonna work in for the U.S. government on any military or Department of Defense, now Department of War installation, you're gonna need a clearance in order to work on those networks, because they're very secured and may hold a lot of sensitive data. Just know that to get a clearance, they're going to do a full background check on you, your immediate family, friends, neighbors, and it's a very intensive background check. So this section is really for my military folks out there. But if you're also interested in working for the U.S. government and want to do cyber work, just know you need to get a clearance, and there's going to be a very intensive background check with that. So keep that in mind. And then last but not least, GRC, or Governance, Risk, and Compliance. We got over here 2 road paths right here: GRC, Governance, Risk, and Compliance, and then Digital Forensics, which Digital Forensics falls under Incident Response, but it also falls kind of under GRC, so it's in the gray area a little bit. But let's talk about GRC for a moment here. So this, to me, GRC is a less technical route and more compliance and admin heavy, if you ask me. Not everyone in cyber wants to sit behind a terminal all day, and that's okay. GRC professionals make sure companies are following the rules. They deal a lot with legal requirements, industry standards, internal policies, that type of stuff. They assess risk, write policies, conduct audits, and ensure the organization doesn't get fined or shut down for non-compliance. So think of compliance officers, if you will. So these GRC members are more like ISSM. You have like a lot of ISSM, ISSO type roles, and it's really just focusing on policies, cybersecurity policies. Um, think of like the analogy I like to give is like let's see here. So like there's different companies, right? So let's say you're running a healthcare business or a clinic or hospital. Well, you start falling into like HIPAA laws, right? And so because you start falling into HIPAA laws, there's a certain set of standards that you need to follow, right? And there's a set of standards for IT operations in medical fields because they fall under HIPAA. And so a part of like GRC is like they're going to create these policies, these IT and or cybersecurity policies that align with HIPAA laws, if that makes sense. Um, other jobs, like let's say you work for a law office, a law firm, right? You're going to be working with a lot of people, you know, doing investigations and all that, and so you kind of are exposed to a lot of PII for your customers in the law field. So you know, PII has its own set of standards um, and policies that need to be followed. And so again, GRC works on creating those policies and enforces that those policies within their network, if that makes sense. GRC type jobs is great, is a great path if you're more business minded oriented and prefer working with frameworks and strategies over tools and whatnot. These are the certs for GRC, ISACA, whole bunch of ISACA certs. The CISM is the gold standard. I would also get the CISSP again, especially if you want to work GRC. CISP is very big on management and architect, which complements policy creating and risk compliance. So definitely get the CISP if you can. But these are the certs for GRC type work. Again, it's a lot of policies and documentation. Now you're basically hands off keyboard. You're just creating the policies for your network, and then you leave it to your SOC analysts and your engineers to enforce those policies, if that makes sense. And then last but not least, digital forensics. Here's like a little description of that. When a crime happens involving a computer, server, whatnot, fraud, data theft, insider threat, those type of things, forensic analysts are the ones who piece together everything that happened. You're preserving evidence, analyzing hard drives and artifacts, recovering deleted files, and presenting findings in a way that holds up in court. You're investigating a lot. You're doing a lot of analysis. Forensics does a lot of um, what's called static and dynamic analysis when it comes to like malware. So like let's say, and this kind of falls into like incident response. This is kind of like the reason why forensics is a part of the incident response life cycle. It's one of the last parts or one of the last phases of the incident response life cycle. But let's say uh, your SOC analyst, or forget it, you're not even a SOC analyst. Let's just say a computer in your network was hacked, right? There was malware, ransomware, whatever. You know, the SOC analyst will go in there and respond to said malware. They're going to go ahead and quarantine that box, and they're going to collect as much information as they can from that box through like data acquisition tools and whatnot. And they're going to basically get a snapshot of a computer that was compromised, and they're going to pass that on to their forensic bubbas. And so what the forensic bubbas do is they're going to go ahead and grab these samples, these malware samples that was preserved during the exploit, and they're going to go ahead and dissect these malware samples. So they're going to be running through the malware code, and that's static analysis. They're basically going to be looking into the code of the malware to see how it runs, what it triggers. They might do a little bit of reverse engineering in that process, and then they're going to move on to what's called dynamic analysis, and that's basically in a sandbox environment that's completely off the network. They're going to go ahead and run the malware so that they can see what it does and how it reacts. They'll have a whole bunch of tools running in the background. So this way, when they run the malware, they can see exactly what it's doing, what triggers it, and what makes it tick essentially. Um, and Forensics is a very, very technical job. You're dealing with a whole bunch of artifacts and preserved data, and you're basically piecing together everything that happened from start to finish. Um, very, very rewarding field. Anyways, these are the certs for forensics as well. GAC against is one of the biggest ones. Open text, etc. For degrees, you can be there's actually a digital forensics degree that you can get for this line of work. Cybersecurity, you can always fall back on that. Criminal justice, with a focus on tech, is also a degree you could pursue. That's kind of like an interesting one. So I know a lot of people have criminal justice degrees and they don't know what to do with it, right? It happens. Well, if you have a criminal justice degree and you kind of want to pivot into IT or cybersecurity, this might be your lane. If you're willing to put in the work to get these certifications, now you have a degree that actually holds some weight and can help you get pretty well compensated. So think about that. So that's this. That's it for this this roadmap. It's just a one that we kind of created together. And again, I'm gonna drop this in the description and in the community so you guys can play around with and have something to reference. And we're gonna go ahead and move on to the DoD 8570. All right, so let's talk about the last one, DoD 8570. Actually, I'm an idiot. I think I misspoke earlier when I said DoD 8570 replaced 8140. It's the other way around. We're going to talk about DoD 8140. It was previously known as DoD 8570. It's now 8140. And that kind of plays into this part right here, this section of the roadmap, DoD/government cyber, right? I think I have something here for you guys. Here it is to read up on this right now. But basically, this is for anyone that wants to, that's a military, a veteran, or anybody that's interested in working in government as a defense contractor. There's a standard called DoD 8140, previously known as DoD 8570. And it's basically the government's official framework that maps specific cybersecurity certifications to specific cybersecurity jobs within the Department of Defense or Department of War now. And so that's important to know because if your goal is to land a federal job in cyber, the certifications you pursue aren't just recommendations, they're requirements. The DoD literally tells you if you want to work in this role, you need this cert, period. Again, I'm not going to talk too much about this because this can be its own video in and of itself. And for the broader audience, I don't think it brings a lot of value unless you want to work specifically for the US government. But here's some of that information. Here are your IAT level 1, 2, and 3 certs, information assurance technology, I think. These are like entry level, medium, and expert level certs. And so it kind of breaks down some of these specializations or domains I spoke about throughout the video. Here are some analysts, incident responders. I think there's some GRC type stuff. And you'll see here, the specific certifications that you need to acquire. CYSA, right, if you want to be an analyst. It basically maps out the specific certifications that you need to acquire if you want to work for the US government. So yeah, that covers everything in a nutshell. Again, if you saw any value in this video, please drop a like and comment. Give us some feedback in the community so we know what kind of content to put out. I got asked a lot of questions throughout the weeks about an introductory video into cybersecurity. So I'm hoping this video kind of answers a lot of questions. Go ahead and find out what domain you want to work in, what field of work you want to work in within cyber, and pursue those certifications. Remember, Sec Plus is your baseline. Get your Sec Plus. then move on from there. Degrees, they're really for negotiation salary. Degrees are great. You don't need it. I don't have a degree. I make a shitload of money. I'm going to get a degree because I kind of need to start negotiating higher salaries. And if you don't have a degree, that's where it really helps when it comes to salary negotiations and whatnot. But yeah, if you saw any value in this video, please give me a shout out. Again, my name is Jimmy, aka The Truth. This was Run DMZ. Stay tuned for the next one.